Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Business Development for Parabolis. We provide a better financial partnership for government contractors that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today's guest is an extraordinary human and my friend, Ms. Candace Waterman. Candace is the president and CEO of Women Impacting Public Policy, or WIPP, and I'm so excited to finally have you on, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. And I just want to tell you, thank you for all you do. You are such an amazing champion for the small business community across the country. I just look at you as this force to be reckoned with, this one-woman show who's just getting it done. So I thank you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And I didn't even have to pay you for that. So I appreciate it. I think we can share our passion for helping people and dedicating ourselves to doing that. So I'm grateful that you're here. I am very appreciative of your kind words. So thank you. And for those of our listeners that may not already know about you or know about WIPP, if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit more details about yourself and your background, and then highlighting what the organization does.
Oh, absolutely. So for me, Candace Waterman, I am first and foremost, I think, the quintessential servant leader. I do not take my position or space in this life or my career for granted. I am here to serve the people, meaning the 12.9 million women-owned businesses that I am charged to serve. From a background perspective, I've got a vast background in women's business development. I've been an executive with WeBank as the vice president and chief of staff over at WeBank, which is the largest third-party certifier. I have been a procurement officer in the public space from a medical perspective, so in the medical industry, and a business owner. And so I think all of those three things have really allowed me the great ingredients to sit in the seat that I sit in right now, where I feel like I've hit the trifecta. I love what I do, why I do it, and the amazing people like yourself that I get to do it with every day. So my background is probably expands about 35 years in the space of assisting businesses with growth. And I'm super excited to be able to do that here at WIPP, which, for those who don't know, WIPP, as we are lovingly known, WIPP is the largest and leading advocacy voice on Capitol Hill for women in business, representing the 12.9 million women-owned businesses in the country, with a special niche or focus in government contracting. So we speak what I call three languages that can be summarized in ACE, A-C-E. That's advocacy, absolutely the cornerstone of why we were born 21 years ago. Community, our community of women-owned small business, women-owned businesses, corporations, agency partners, strategic partners, meaning other organizations like us who assist the small business community. And we're all connected and committed to each other's success. So that's our C in community. And last, rounding that out, is the E, education. Because if I am on the Hill advocating for women to have not just a seat at the table, but a real voice and opportunity, particularly from a procurement perspective, then we want to ensure that they have the skill set, the wherewithal, the capacity expansion needed to fulfill on those procurement opportunities. So that's kind of who WIPP is from a 50,000 view, right? ACE. Consider us your ace in the hole.
I love it. I love it so much. And my experience with WIPP was encouraged by friends. And I think that's the best part of it. And so not having previously had knowledge of WIPP or the work that you all do, several of my friends within the GovCon space are part of your leadership team. And so I followed them like I do to most things. I kind of, trudge along, and people that I admire, I try to, emulate the things that I admire most about them. And you've got a fantastic leadership group within WIPP. And so I was lucky enough to get exposure to the organization through there, having, like I said, no prior knowledge to it. And I have learned so much so quickly of the welcoming environment that WIPP exposes to women business leaders. Whether you're a business owner or not, being a part of the government contracting space can be intimidating. It is a male-dominated space. And when we can sit together and collectively join our voices and advocate on behalf of the collective group, I've found so much camaraderie and so much joy within the organization and the events that you guys put on that I've enjoyed every moment of it. And so I really wanted to take the time to highlight from a leadership perspective what you guys are focusing on, how people can get involved, and what that means. Because like I said, the impact that I've found from the little bit that I've already done with you all has been amazing. And I intend to increase my activity within the organization as well. And so I want to spread some of that through our network, through this podcast. And so let's jump right in, because I know there's a lot here, and you're a great voice for the collective group. But what do you think the greatest impact is that WIPP is making on behalf of women-owned businesses?
Honestly, I think our greatest impact is not just singular, if you will, because we're not a linear organization, right? We have these sort of swim lanes, part of the same pool, but swim lanes, if you will. And I would say they go hand in hand. And that is advocacy and then the procurement piece of it, as well as the education, which again is summarized in that ACE, because you can't have one without the other. Sort of like how we talk about, which is great to talk about it with you. You can't talk about access to contracts without talking about access to capital, right? It's the same conversation, or you can't separate the conversations, if you will. So that's how it is with WIPP. The biggest impact for us in the advocacy space is we work with Congress on a daily basis to ensure that there are regulations and laws put in place to assist the women-owned small business community and remove barriers. For instance, most people don't know there is a federal WOSB program in place because of the work that we have done for so many years to ensure that we advocated for women to have that seat at the table. Now, I'm always giving credit where credit is due. I wasn't here with WIPP at that time when we were working to get that advocacy and that program put in place, but I'm the person, thankfully, that has been given the baton to take it on to the next level. I stand on the shoulder of giants, right, with what I do. And so I would say from an impact perspective is from an advocacy is our reputation on Capitol Hill and our voice that we not only use, but people listen to. And then the community, you said it, we've got amazing leaders that just are so committed to the success of each other. There is no push and pull and tugging in that. If we're pushing and pulling, we're pulling the next person up with us, right? So we can break the proverbial glass ceiling, if you will. And we're bringing everybody along with us, locked arm in arm. I even hear sometimes our women-owned businesses might be talking to a procurement professional, either in the GovCon space or with one of the prime contractors, right? And they're say, I'm looking for XYZ. And that particular woman-owned small business doesn't provide that particular service, but they're like, oh, I have a colleague who does. So they bring them along. And that's what our community is really all about, is ensuring that we are committed to the success of each other as women-owned small businesses, but also to the success of the agencies and the primes, because when they're successful, they're going to utilize women-owned small businesses.
Absolutely. And I think it's unique to this organization to have that unification in a positive way like that. Not to denigrate anything that's gone on, but I think a lot of women aren't educated until they really get involved to know. At our last event that I attended in DC a couple of weeks ago, one of your speakers was talking about legislation that's been put into place and things that have changed in my lifetime. And I couldn't believe how long it had spread that women weren't given the same access to opportunities. I had no idea. I mean, I was born in 1979, and for women to have been unable to get mortgages on their own, get business loans on their own, well within the professional experience of being able to gain those things and having money in their bank accounts to ask for that type of money was mind blowing to me, because I always thought of myself as being on the up and up about, the struggles that women had in the past. I didn't realize that it was even until the 1980s that the lack of access was there, late 80s, no less. I mean, we're talking Reagan administration when these things were being changed. My mind was blown. And I think that's so important, that if you don't go and put yourself out there to hear from women who have trudged that journey before you, you don't know. And these are women that are my mom's age, right? My mom was young having me. And I had no idea that if she had gone out to try to get a mortgage without my dad signing off on it, she wouldn't have gotten it.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Right. And so through having these conversations, sharing narratives, having really good storytelling, which is what we try to do as well, to educate people, because when you know where you came from, that clears the path to knowing where you need to go, if you will. And you are correct. I mean, even to right now, which you know better than others, from at least an access to capital perspective, that women typically they suffer from what I call application anxiety. So they count themselves out before they even get in the game. So they don't even complete an application. Secondly, they ask for far less than what they really need. And then they absolutely receive far less than what they asked for. Right. And often the T's and C's, the terms and conditions, are totally different. And so it is part of this advocacy world, right, that we're in, that we are trying to ensure those types of things don't happen, because we know that access to the marketplace, meaning procurement and capital, is a barrier to entry and a barrier to growth. Right, over our male counterparts. And it's not pitting one against the other. It's just saying that we want a seat at the table and we want access, because we absolutely are going to fulfill once we get there.
Absolutely. And I think learning those behaviors from someone else that has already walked that walk is so important. So sharing of the stories, I say it a lot when I'm presenting. If business leaders shared intimately more often, those mistakes that were made don't need to be made twice. And just because the mistake wasn't yours doesn't mean that you have to repeat it in order to learn from it. You can learn from someone else's story. And that's what the impact that I've been feeling every time I'm involved in one of the WIPP events or Challenge Her events, is that you really learn from someone else's story, what they went through, and how you can not only relate to it, but utilize that to take that knowledge and empower yourself to do things differently than they did, so that your result is more advantageous. I mean, when I started my career, I was very confident in myself. I've never had an issue with being confident. I'm not super insecure in my life. And so, but my very first sales job that I went for, a guy and I were hired on the same day. We're the exact same age. I actually had more professional experience, less sales experience, more professional experience. And he was making more than me. And I remember at first, should I be upset about this? And then he and I became friends and we talked about it. He asked for more. He said he wanted more to start at that position. I didn't ask. I actually didn't even question when I was being paid. I was just like, well, I'm going to get this job.
Exactly.
This is so awesome. And it had less to do with me feeling that I deserved less. It was that I didn't know how to advocate for myself, because I'd never heard someone talk about that before, and if you don't ask for it, you ain't going to get it.
No, you are not. I have this t-shirt that says, know your worth and then add tax. And that is what I try to live by, right? Know your worth and add tax. But it's just inherently more difficult, I think, for women to do that, because we are typically the helpmates, taking care of the household, taking care of, we make 85% of the decisions in the household, and we impact the other 15, right? So we're so busy taking care of others that we don't take care of ourselves. And I think that is what one of the things that WIPP does, is allows somebody to do what I call, zoom out as you lean in, and zoom out to look at the big picture, from a business owner perspective. What is it that you're looking for? Is this client the right client for me? Is this business the right business? Is this contract the right contract, right? Is it going to make me money? Is it going to, or is it going to get me the past performance I need? What is it going to do? But let me not be afraid to get in the game. And I think that we do a good job with really instilling that and ensuring that we have the right atmosphere for people to feel comfortable and safe to say, you know what, I didn't know that. So let me learn from my WIPP, network and family of sisters, if you will. And now I am equipped to go out and stand up for myself.
I agree wholeheartedly. So speaking of what is ahead for you guys in the year ahead, what initiatives are you focusing on, both legislatively and through your the events that you're putting out? What's a good focus in 2023 for WIPP?
So we're looking forward to 2023. 2022 was our year of resiliency, right? Because we had to get through, yet another, as I say, crises, right? You've got COVID crises, financial crises. They say we're going to have, another bit of one, but really being a game changer, right, in 2023. And that really means a couple of things, right? From an advocacy perspective, we're never not going to focus on procurement and access to capital. It may look different. So next year is looking at the way contracts are bundled. We don't want them bundled. We want them unbundled so that our women-owned businesses can have access to those contracts, right? You're looking at category management and how, is that really beneficial for the community, if you will. Also looking at the policy around, or not policy, the practice around responding to RFPs, Qs, Is, so on. Doing so with one agency can be very different with another agency. For instance, and seems super simplistic, but it means a lot. It has to be a certain font size. Your cover page is considered part of your overall pages with one. The other one says your font size is different. Your cover page is not included in it. And so you are literally having to have or spend hours upon hours to look at what the requirements are. How are you including your information when you should really be looking at the requirements should be the same, meaning those kind of administrative requirements, so that you can focus on how am I telling the story of how I'm going to solve a problem for you, agency or prime, right? So some of that part, the administrative part, on access to capital, always, right? We want our women business owners to be able to have capital infusion without jeopardizing their socioeconomic status. So that is part of our policy. And then, of course, infrastructure, right? And that's infrastructure money we know is handed down, the policy at the Fed level, but the money is going to flow through the state. So you'll see us do what I call a top-down, bottom-up approach. And that is ensuring that we're working at the state level to see that there's transparency and accountability with how contracts are being put on the street, right? And access to them for our women-owned small businesses. And then, of course, broadband access. And it's not just access, it's also accountability. I have one of my own team members who she lives in a rural area, and her access has been horrible. And just think, she is someone who has the best access that she can have.
Right.
And she's in a position with us where we're supporting women-owned small businesses who don't necessarily have access. So she doesn't have access. How can she help others, right? So in that data, broadband space, we're playing there. And then, of course, healthcare. We've got to play in the healthcare space because that really impacts our women-owned small businesses, their benefits packages to their employees, how that shows up in their bottom line. And of course, taxes. And it's those kinds of things that people don't realize. When you talk about policy, some people will say, oh, I don't want to deal in politics. Well, as I say, it's policy, not politics.
Right.
Because WIPP is a national nonpartisan organization. We work on both sides of the aisle. As I say, we are not red or blue, I'm green. I
Yep.
care about the bottom line of our business owners and our corporations so we can have that money flowing through their businesses and ultimately through the community, right? That pebble in a pond effect. And so we just want to work on both sides of the aisle to ensure that we have the best access to information, resources, knowledge for our businesses. So it's
Right.
all about equality, equity, and parity for us in the WOSB community.
I love it. And given the fact that it's such a large community, being unified together is one thing, but it's also linking arms with other organizations that might draw some, increased attention to the matters as well. So, what are some of, or who are some of the partners that align with your mission and that are helpful in pushing through legislation that is beneficial to multiple parties?
Oh, absolutely. And you bring up a good point. A collective voice is a better voice than what I call popcorn voices, right? That got them popping up here and
Mhm.
there. Where do we collectively align? And so we align with and partner with Hub Zone Council. We have lots of cross pollination of members. Of course, WeBank, that's Women's Business Enterprise National Council. They are a 501c3, so they can't play in the policy space. So we represent them in that space. We have Disability In. We have Montgomery Chamber of Commerce, right?
Okay.
Who is amazing in the veteran space. They are
Mhm.
amazing. NGLCC, just about all of the other alphabets. We have,
Yeah.
honestly, over 400 what we call coalition partners across the country. That's everyone from a national organization like us
Mhm.
to a Chamber of Commerce or local organization, be it a ADBC, SBDC, a PTAC. We work collectively with everyone who's supporting the small business community so that we can be a 360, if you will, ecosystem for them,
Mhm.
because we don't provide everything. So where our gaps are, we want to find that partner to provide that particular
Right.
service.
Well, that just strength in numbers is important, and
It
I
is.
love that. And so you let me know if you need some help in the SBDC PTAC department because I know a couple people, and so
All
I'd love to
right.
be able to expand your outreach in case there's some relationships that you might not have, especially down here in my home state of Florida. If I can help anywhere there, I know Orlando. My sister is a small business owner, and my other sister and her husband are also small business owners, and so it's a personal issue on top of it being a good place to be, a good space to dedicate some time to. I'm happy to do so. So let me know how I can help on that
Well, I
capacity
thank
as
you.
well.
And it's on the record. So I'm going to call out to you. Which
That's
when I
exactly
do,
what I said.
you
It out
always
loud.
answer. So it's perfect.
That's right. I love it. So hold me accountable to it. I promise I'm there. So events ahead in 2023, and with that, what are the best ways that people can get involved with WIPP outside of just these events that we're going to chat about?
So from a being involved perspective, join your voice with ours. Bottom line, that's what I say. We have sort of two paths of thinking, if you will, because some people think because they're not a government contractor, oh, I shouldn't be involved with WIPP. Well, you absolutely should because you're a woman-owned business, right?
Mhm.
So even if you're doing business in the private sector side, because we have pathways on both sides, public and private sector, you are paying your tax base right now is based on policy, right? So
Right.
you want to make certain that you understand the policy that is hitting or impacting your business. So you definitely want to be involved with us. And if you're a government contractor, it just makes perfect logical sense because we are the preeminent organization for government contracting education. You mentioned Challenge Her earlier. We've got thousands of people across the country who have attended our Challenge Her programs, now back this year in person, yay, which we're so
Awesome.
excited about. And we do sessions online as well, but you'll see us in 4 different quadrants, if you will, of the country in 2023 for that. Of course, our national conference. And then for our members, we offer every month, we offer some type of education, capacity expansion, some type of subject matter expert that is speaking to to what you need for your business to help you in that procurement space. So we offer a ton of educational programming. So with that plugged in, that's it. You can be as involved with us as you want to. You dictate that with your membership level.
I love it. You guys are great with putting some really amazing people in front of this group of constituents. And a lot of them, I mean, I've learned from for the last couple of years and can attest to the fact that you spare no opportunity to put the best of the best in front of this group. And so I encourage people to visit the website so they can see the calendar of events listed. They do a great job of putting together in-person events, but these virtual events are amazing. So if you're not located in a place where you can get to any of these in-person events, you definitely want to check out the education that WIPP is putting out on a regular basis. I definitely recommend it. So before we close out, I always like us to end with some sage wisdom. And I know that you, you're such a wonderful advocate and you're an amazing person. I know you personally, so I know you a little bit more than you can share in 25 minutes on a podcast, but you always have great advice. And so I'd like you to share some with our group before we leave.
Absolutely. I would first and foremost say to you, remember that you're not alone. You're not alone in this path or journey that you're on to success in your business. Grab a hold to the arm of, a colleague or one of your WIPP network sisters so that you can tap into that brain trust. The other is ensure that you know and understand the intersectionality of policy and business, because policy does affect your business. And last, I would say, remember, you are a game changer. So let's go out there and change the game in 2023 together.
I love it. You are so amazing, and you're such a positive influence in government contracting and the private sector. And so thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Finally, I was so excited that I could be on here with you, and just keep doing what you do, and whatever WIPP can assist you in with, making your path even deeper in the small business community, please make sure you tap into us as well.
I am going to take you up on that, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And as always, we are grateful for all of our amazing guests who join us. We've had an incredible year here in 2022, and the growth we have seen in this podcast is awesome. If not for people like you, Candace, and organizations like WIPP, we would not have had the positive impact we strive for in the GovCon community. So thank you so very much. If you are new to our following, please be sure to check out our YouTube channel by the same name, Spilling the Tea on GovCon, to see our archives and view all of our past episodes. I hope you feel encouraged to continue to follow us as we work very hard to bring you cutting-edge ideas and thought leadership from people like Miss Waterman. I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you back.
Well, and we have an exciting lineup coming up. A lot of them are leadership from your team as well, but be sure to stay tuned. We love it. We love what we do, and thank you all for being here. I am Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Hope everyone has a great day.